Yeah, so the very first thing is that connotation denotation, schoolwork versus SAT, ACT. Any sort of test prep is always going to focus on fact, 100% correct. School, you can have varying degrees of what you're trying to say because they leave it up to your interpretation, right? Very good. Now, that 100% accurate, just like I said in math, was if they give you something you're used to. So like, let's say pi r squared, you solve for your r, but in there they go and ask you back for either diameter or circumference or, another situation where you're using that radius for a new equation. Okay, so I say that's not conceptual. You know your equation, you know what needs to be done, but you've gone 99% of the way of what's asked of the problem. You just didn't do the last step. Okay, so that's what math commonly does. Now in reading and writing, what are some more common things that they would do? So reading is interpretation of what is in the text. So what are some common misinterpretations? Well, first is inputting your own thoughts, own information, right? The second is not being specific to exactly what this passage is saying. Every book that you'll find, every teacher that you'll meet will tell you all the answers are right in the passage, but you have to be able to find it, and you have to be able to read fast enough so that your timing doesn't get thrown off, so you don't end up with 20 more problems at the end and no time left. So that's why you have all these inputs of notes. Go ahead and write down what notes or what markings that you do just to review this. I like to think that every time you meet, you're gonna go over this process so that it just solidifies it more and more. It's almost like if I was to teach how to play basketball, it's like, okay, first catch the ball, put your hand under the ball, and then when you release it, make sure your thumb doesn't end up on it, right? And as you start, it might not necessarily work out that way, and it takes a couple of practices. And same with this, okay? So I want your mind to go through the process. All right, I'm in the reading section. What should I look out for? Because if I just do what school does, I'm going to end up with some problems, okay? And what were some little notifications or little like your brain should light up like, oh my God, I need to look out for this. What are some things like that?
Usually a lot of times like when they have numbers or something, I usually like in the science passages or not like the science passages and the reading passages, I would like circle those.
Okay. So any data ideas, like that you might want to keep an eye out for, because having to go back and look for that number, or if they wrote out the number especially, make sure like the word 19, go circle it or have a notation for that. What else?
The main idea ones. Usually like vocab words, I guess. Like vocab words that you would see in the question.
What should you do? Okay, so if you see a vocab word that's in the answer, what should you be extremely careful about?
Like in the question or the answer?
Both. So like if they give you, and the question would most likely be like, what is the meaning of this? Right. Okay? Yeah. But if you have an answer and let's say one of the vocab words matches up with something that was in the passage, is it more likely right or more likely wrong?
More likely wrong.
Why?
Because usually they change something else around it to make it wrong.
Yes. So if you see a vocab word match up perfectly, be extra critical of it. Okay? So be even more denotation of that word. Make sure, especially, that you don't bring in connotation. They're forcing you to work extra hard, think extra hard about those things. And as a result, a lot of kids get that wrong. Does that make sense? So the moment you see a word match up, be extra careful. Yes, sometimes it will be the right one, but if it has any other words around it, or if you know a secondary meaning, if they do that type of stuff, it's more likely a word that you would know a secondary meaning too. In that situation, be extra critical of what that answer choice would be. Okay? I also noticed you have some like circles for main characters, right? Boxes for certain things. Write down what your notation is. So you have circle, underline, square, and star. You give me your own thoughts of what that should be. And then the last thing is making sure that you read the main idea or what the passage is from, right? Is it prose? Is it fiction? Is it humanities, etc.? And that helps you understand what exactly you're looking for.